Bioenergetics is the flow of energy in biological systems. The human requires a constant supply of energy to power all biological processes, including physical activity. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but instead is transferred from one form to another. In the human body, energy is transferred through a compound called ATP. ATP consists of a molecule of adenine and ribose linked to 3 phosphates. The energy in ATP is stored in the bonds that link the 2 outermost phosphates. The energy is released from ATP through a process called hydrolysis, which involves the splitting of ATP into ADP, an inorganic phosphate, and a hydrogen ion. The hydrolysis of ATP occurs without oxygen, meaning that energy is released rapidly. This released energy stimulates some muscle fibers to contract, which is required for exercise. The body requires a constant and continuous supply of ATP. Our muscle cells contain a small amount of ATP, termed intramuscular ATP, that can be released rapidly to power the start of exercise. However, this intramuscular ATP is limited and depletes after a few seconds of exercise. To overcome this storage limitation of ATP, at the onset of exercise, our body activates 3 metabolic pathways that work to continually resynthesize ATP at its rate of use: the phosphate system, the glycolytic system, and the oxidative system. The first 2 systems are anaerobic systems, meaning oxygen is not required to produce ATP. These systems take place in the cell cytosol. The oxidative system is aerobic, meaning oxygen is needed for ATP production, and therefore, because oxygen is required, this system produces ATP more slowly than the other 2 anaerobic systems. The oxidative system takes place in the cell's mitochondria. The relative percentage each system contributes to ATP production differs depending on the intensity and duration of physical activity. During the onset of exercise, as I mentioned earlier, intramuscular ATP transfers energy firstly and instantly by hydrolysis. Intramuscular ATP is the primary contributor for exercise lasting only a few seconds, such as a 10-second sprint, lifting an object, or swinging a golf club. However, intramuscular ATP storage is limited and depletes within a few seconds of exercise. Thereafter, if exercise continues for longer than a few seconds, the phosphagen system takes over to continually provide ATP. This system is the primary contributor of energy for exercise lasting between 10 to 30 seconds, such as a 100-meter dash, a 25-meter swim, or lifting a heavy weight. This system derives its energy from the breakdown of another energy molecule, intramuscular creatine phosphate. When creatine phosphate breaks down, it supplies a phosphate group that combines with ADP to replenish ATP. However, like intramuscular ATP, creatine phosphate is limited. Therefore, this system is fully depleted after 20 to 30 seconds of exercise. Exercise lasting longer than 30 seconds will go on to derive most of its energy from the short-term anaerobic glycolytic system. This system is the primary energy contributor for exercise lasting 1 to 2 minutes long, such as a 440-meter run or a 100-meter swim. This system involves the breakdown of glycogen stored in our muscles into lactate. Factors that cause glycolysis to halt after 2 minutes include the buildup of hydrogen ions, a byproduct of glycolysis, causing the muscle to become acidic and deactivate the enzyme that work within the glycolytic cycle. And secondly, the increase in oxygen, which in abundance inhibits glycolysis. The last system is the oxidative system, the primary source of ATP for long-duration, low-intensity activities. This system provides nearly all the energy for any exercise lasting longer than a few minutes. The oxidative system obtains energy from dietary protein, carbs, and fats to fuel exercise. These substrates go through 2 primary biological processes to produce ATP, the Krebs-cycle and the electron transport chain. Carbs and fats, however, are the primary substrates. Protein does not provide a significant contribution unless you are training for longer than 90 minutes or during long-term starvation. Moreover, the power generated by fat is only half than that of carbs. Thus, depletion of muscle glycogen considerably decreases a muscle's maximum aerobic power output. Therefore, maintaining adequate glycogen takes on an added importance at high intensities for prolonged efforts. It is important to note that the contribution of energy from each system progresses along a continuum. For short-term exercise, the anaerobic systems are the primary contributors, with the aerobic system supplying the remaining energy, and vice versa for long-duration exercise. Athletes can also train to maximize specific energy systems. This explains why a world record sprinter does not necessarily excel in distance running. Therefore, athletes should engage in specific activities that ensure optimal adaptation in physiologic and metabolic function appropriate for the energy system their exercise modality primarily uses. This can improve capacity for energy transfer, which usually translates into improved performance.